Hello Musici, let's continue our journey with Riepel. In this video, let me put better, in this video, we have some analysis, because now we have some analysis of gallant pieces with Riepel's theories, phrasing, insertion, repetitions, different kind of notes. And in this video, we'll analyze this concerto by Graun. But first of all, let's read the introduction written by the editor of the modern edition. So, Joseph, mid-8th century Berlin orchestral repertoire collected in Dresden. The origin of and the context for Joseph Riepel's theories. Joseph Riepel begins his Grunderlehre in 1755, the second volume of his Afghan with an exchange of messages. First comes as a report of a friend to the author, the friend being the unnamed dedicatee of the first volume, who had addressed Riepel as a brother. This friend or brother was, in all likelihood, Riepel himself, inasmuch as he seen himself Leiper instead of Riepel. Leiper, basically, is changing R and Al. Riepel. Wonderful. Which is an anagram for Riepel. Leiper, the friend and brother, now rise. In this connection, it astonishes me that you, Riepel, the author, have addressed your dedication just to me, Leiper, the friend and brother, i.e. Riepel's alter ego. No. Okay. After all, you confided in me that for the most part you owe your understanding of the art of the notes to learn Dresden. Exactly. Where you had the good fortune to hear many audible musical beauties for 5 years. Why have you not therefore dedicated your work out of gratitude to the great master of that place or to one of his colleagues? Riepel replies, as for Dresden, you are entirely correct, for there I got to examine many masterpieces from Berlin at that time, since my limited purse, alas, did not allow me anything more. I proposed that the great master of Dresden, to whom Riepel might have dedicated his treatise, was Johann Georg Pisendel, the leader of the Dresden court orchestra, and that the masterpieces from Berlin that Riepel examined with so much profit during his stay in Dresden were the concertos and symphonies of four of Pisendel's former students, who were employed at the Prussian court during the time of Riepel's Dresden sojourn. Karl Heinrich Graun, Johann Gottlieb Graun, Franz Benda, and Johann Joachim Quanz. Concertos and symphonies by these composers were collected by Pisendel, and they are still preserved in the music collection of the former Saxon electoral court, many of them in Pisendel's hand. Already in 1935, Twittenhoff called attention to the Dresden years as crucial to Riepel's musical development. Emmering named several composers whom Riepel encountered there, above all Pisendel, and Kopp specifies Pisendel's collection of Berlin orchestral music as the likely source of Riepel's knowledge of this repertoire. This chapter will focus on symphonies and concertos of Pisendel and his former students, then working in Berlin, in order to relate some specific features of Riepel's theory of symphonic composition to corresponding characteristics of these composers. Orchestral works that are preserved in Pisendel's Dresden music collection. My point, of course, is that Riepel very likely modeled his theory on these or similar works. Riepel's 5 years in Dresden fell between 1740 and 1745. Before that time, he attended a Jesuit gymnasium in Steyr, studied philosophy at the Jesuit college in Linz, spent 1 year at the University of Graz, and served as valet to General Alexander Graf Dollone in Bosnia, Serbia, and Slavonia. Although he had learned the violin and began reading Fuchs, he had never been able to dedicate himself entirely to music before his Dresden years. Afterwards, Riepel spent time in Poland and Vienna before settling into the position of Kapellmeister at the court of the Prince of Turnus Taxis in Regensburg in 1749. It appears that Riepel began to write his multi-volume treatise in Regensburg at that time, since the first chapter of it was published in 1752. The conclusions seem inescapable that the study that formed the foundation of Riepel's treatise, especially its first 2 chapters, must have taken place in Dresden, exactly as suggested in the exchange of the letters printed at the beginning of the 2nd chapter of the work. In all the chapters of his treatise, Riepel actually names only 1 musician of Dresden court, Jan Dismas Zelenka, with which exemplary master I enjoyed daily contact at that time in Dresden. If that daily contact included instruction, as Emmering suggests, it may be wondered why Riepel did not actually acknowledge Zelenka as his teacher. Riepel's preceptor does make some remarks about his formal and informal compositional studies in such a way as to hint at Riepel's own training. I'm never ashamed that I was to ask others openly for the solution to a problem. It has more often hurt me than I was not able to succeed in that. How happy I was about 14 years ago when a rather solid composer, a really upright and harmonious soul, explained one and another equivocal principle to me in just a few hours. Prior to that, most composers had given me nothing but a mocking answer and then sent me back with questions, only even more confused than before. Soon, one of them asked whether I were in a position to pay for such costly lessons. Then another composer advised me to give up composition entirely, since it was too difficult for me, and everything else that such despicable braggarts say. This passage appears in chapter 2 of Riepel's treatise, which was published in 1755. So, if it refers to Riepel himself, the explanation from that rather solid composer was received about 1741, just after Riepel moved to Dresden. K. Kopp ably supports his reasonable view that Riepel is referring here to Pisendel, who was known for his kindness and generosity to young, aspiring composers. Kopp also demonstrated that Riepel's instruction about violin bowing offered in the 3rd chapter of his treatise faithfully reflect Pisendel's innovations. Zelenka seems an unlikely teacher of the techniques explained in Riepel's treatise, because Zelenka's surviving musical works include no Italian-style symphonies and concertos, with features that could have formed the basis of the theory expounded in Riepel's first 2 chapters. Although Zelenka may have influenced Riepel, Riepel's composition for the church. In his Harmonische Silbenmasse 44, okay, it's a composition, I guess, because Silbenmasse of 1767, Riepel acknowledged the influence of the Dresden opera teacher and his conception of vocal writing. There the major figure was Johann Adolf Hasse, but it is the symphonic and concerto style taught in the first two chapters of his that concerns us here, and the Pisendel circle, including perhaps Pisendel's teacher Antonio Vivaldi, is the most likely source of this style for Riepel, as he was formulating the theory expounded in the first two chapters of his treatise. How long it is? Okay, short, 1 page. Although Riepel's theory of symphonic composition is built upon the concept of absatz, so comma, or comma-defined segment, the predictable symmetry of the four-sum, which Riepel uses to explain the absatz, is notably absent from his extended musical example, particularly those that take the form of complete movements. Rather, it is precisely the technique for prolonging movements that give Riepel's extended examples their characteristic style, the technique to expand a phrase. These include increasing the number of comma and cadence defined segment by establishing subordinate key areas, following the commonplace outlines reflected in Riepel's chord key hierarchy. The foreman, the steward, the chiefman, the laborer, the black gradle, and frequent repetition of those segments with or without variation or interval distortion, pitch alteration. So when we talk about pitch alteration, we talk about interval distortion. Even more particularly, these prolongation techniques involve expanding comma-defined segments, and filling in between them. As established in the previous chapter, prominent among these explanation and techniques as established in the previous chapter, prominent among these expansions techniques are frequent and recurring internal repetition of 1, 2, or 3 units of a four-sum, often with elision, and even more often thereby embellishments by pitch alterations. Insertion between comma-defined segments tend to be extended even further through exaggerated use of the same techniques of repetition, variation, elaboration, and distortion. While exact melodic harmonic sequences typical of late Baroque, fortspinnungstipus construction are far less common. Fortspinnungstipus, okay. Riepel's examples blah 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 and 6-4, annotated and analyzed in the previous chapter, provide abundant examples of these features. Sufficient models for movement of the type and complexity of these 5 examples are easily found within Pisendel's Dresden collection of symphonies and concertos by Pisendel himself, Quantz, Benda, and the Graun brothers. Here, for example, is the melody line, mostly from the solo part, from the first movement of a concerto by Johann Gottlieb Graun, copied by Pisendel for his Dresden collection. The analytical annotation added editorially show that its structure can be readily comprehended by Riepel's theory, and that the movement exhibits the characteristic expansion technique explained in Riepel's first 2 chapters, including the unusual insertion of one phrase inside one other. Here it is. So, this is what we are going to do in this analysis. Okay. Including the unusual insertion of one phrase inside one other. And now we have the concerto, which is 1, 2 pages, 3 pages, 4 pages long. So it's very long, actually, 4 pages. First of all, I want to play this from the beginning to the end to have a great understanding of a general understanding of what's happening in general. Let's play it. So, allegro moderato. Here it is. Pa pa pum 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 pa pa pum pa 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 fa mi fa pa 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 pa. Oh wait, triplets. Ta 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 fa pa fa pam 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 pa 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 pam pum pum pa pa pum 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 pa pa pam 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 pa pam pa pa pam pum pum pa pa pum pum pa pa pam 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 pa pam. Then syncopations. Pa 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 sol fa pe 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 pa 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 fa la sol fa mi do do mi do mi sol. Mi fa fa la fa do la fa fam pa 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 pam pa 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 sol fa mi fa fa la sol fa do do ta la sol fa do fa ta 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 mi fa so ta la ta ta la do fa do do ri do. Ma fa mi la sol do pa 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 fa tre do do ta ta te pa 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 do fa fa mi fa pa 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 la sol fa mi fa la sol do fa fa mi fam pam 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 la sol do mi re mi fa sol fa la sol fa do mi re la sol fa sol tre fa sol fa fa do pa pa pam 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 do si re po po mi re fa mi fa sol fa la sol la mi fa re do mi re mi fa mi sol la sol fa la fa do re pam fa mi re mi fa la sol mi sol fa la sol fa la sol fa fa mi sol fa la sol fa pa pa pam pam. So a C sharp and then followed by a C natural. Okay. Is this C sharp correct? I don't know. La sol fa mi re do mi sol fa mi re do re mi fa. This was the subject we heard at the beginning, but now in C major. Let's just annotate it. Mi fa mi fa sol la si la fa mi fa pa pa pam pom pom pa pa pim pom pom pa 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 pam pom 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 fa so do re mi fa. Mi fa la sol fa tutti pa mi fa la sol do fa mi fa la re sol fa la sol do re mi fa sol do la sol do ti tam tam param do ti do ta do fa do ti ta do ti ta do. Pam pam pa re mi fa do re mi fa do re mi fa do re la sol fa la sol fa re fa la sol fa mi fa do mi fa do mi sol fa mi re fa da ta la pa 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 pam 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 pa pam 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 pa pam pam pa 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 si la sol fa re tutto pa pa re pa 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 re do re mi fa sol la re fi tom ta 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 ti to ti tom ta 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 ti to ti tom tom ti ta ta tom. That way? So with A sharp? Really? Okay. Fa mi fa mi re mi sol fa mi ta 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 ni re do mom pa ta ta fa mi la sol fa mi fa mi fa mi fa mi fa la sol fa mi do mi sol fa la sol fa fa ra do ta 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 fa mi re do sol ta ta ta. Sometimes there are these mistakes in this edition. Like here we have an E flat, not a D sharp. That's why I wasn't so convinced by the previous passage. Now we'll see it again. But if we have a cadence to C, and then I would expect something like in the Napolitan style. So like a Napolitan cadence with B flat instead of A sharp. We'll see it later. Then pa pa pum 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 fa mi fam. Then pa 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 fa mi fam. Ta 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 tu tu ti tu 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 pa 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 la sol do fa mi fa la sol do re mi fa sol fa mi re pa pa pam 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 pa pam do ti ti do re mi re fa mi fa sol fa la sol la mi fa mi re mi fa mi sol fa la fa sta fa la sol la mi fa la sol fa ta ti ti ta ta sol fa ti 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 ta 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 ti ta ti ta. Sol, fa, ye, Deceptive cadence, because in the bass they're probably fa, do, re. So do, re. Mi, re, do, fa, mi, re, do, fa, mi, re, do, la, do, fa, ti, re, do, ta, ya, do, ti, re, do, ta, pa, 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 do, pa, 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 pom, pa, pa, pam, pum, pam, pa, do, fu, pam, ti, do, fa, mi, fa, sol, do. Okay, and this is the analysis. This is the we've just played now this piece from the beginning to the end. Now let's see section by section what's happening. Okay. Now, especially the phrasings. Allegro moderato. 1, 2, 3, and 4, where we have a changing comma after 4 bars, and then a repetition, so that we have a 6-sum made by a 4-sum. So 1, 2, 3, 4, where 3 and 4 are repetition. Good. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, repetition of a whole comma segment. So not just a 2-sum, but repetition of a whole comma segment with a forte and piano, because 4 means forte and piano means piano. Okay, then insertion of a fonte, and we have a fonte indeed. D minor and C major. La, sol, fa, mi, do, mi, do, mi, sol, la. I don't know why it doesn't consider this to be, they are at the end 2 bars. We can consider this 1, 2, 3, and 4, At the end, it works. Then, para pa 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 para pa ta 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 sol mi fa fa la fa do. Then, okay, I agree, because this 1 and 2 is repeated the same. So ta 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 fa mi re do ya ta 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 fa mi re do. Then ta 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 sol mi fa, and here the 4-sum at the end finishes, but it continues where in such a way that this element fa la fa ta ta tan is expanded. What can be now the bass? F. This is a converging cadence section in order to move to the 5th degree. How? This way, basically F, because we have the cadence, comma to tonic comma, so F. Now imagine all of these notes down in the bass. So F, then, yes, I can write it even here. B flat, B natural, and C. So that in the figure bass we have 3-5, 3-5, 3-5 with a 7, 7, so we write 7, then 7 again, but B natural, La Fa Mi, and resolution in figure bass, tan taran taran tan taran taran tan taran taran tan, this way. Then so lengthened alla breve style means that the movement now is mainly on the half note level, more on the quarter note level. So lengthened, so double with more space and notes. I mean faster. I mean not larger values, so slower the effect. And if we arrived on C, here is the effect. This over C can become a 6-4-3, where the third takes the flat. Then repetition close veiled by pitch alteration. So we have the repetition of the previous phrase. Which phrase? This one. But with triplets that we have already met in other sections, these triplets. So he's reusing triplets now as a compositional elements. And if we want to write a bass, we have an F. Then we have the same F followed by the B flat, the B natural here with the same harmony, and C. Then pam pam pa 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 pa. Yes, tom pom pam pa, or better, what to put here in this section in the bass if I want to write a bass? Because C, okay, we agree. I would expect something like an F, okay. And E with the 6th harmony, E with the 6th, because then pom pam pa pam, and then a C, so that we have a true 17th. Do re mi fa mi, mi fa sol do, mi fa sol do, mi fa sol do. And here there's an important cadence, because mi fa sol do, where the violin plays the bass movement, that's an important cadence. Now, do da dum dum fa mi re do sol re pi la la sol fa mi fa. Very similar to the beginning. This is the reprise of the beginning, which was do ra tum 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 tere tum do ra tum tum. Even if not exactly the same, para pam, instead of pam 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 para pam, we have the syncopation. Do ra tum 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 tere tum. Oh, la 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 sol fa mi fa, la 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 sol fa mi fa, and we have the repetition 3-4 of 3-4. Good. Now, repetition close veiled by pitch alteration. So we have the use of syncopation working that way. La, sol, fa, mi, fa. Let's see. La, sol, do, fa, mi, fa, la, te, do. La, sol, do, ma, mi. And in terms of schema, la, sol, do, fa, mi, fa, mi, re, do. La, this is down a third. So la, sol, do, sol, do, fa, mi, na, re, do. La, sol, do, fa, mi, la, sol, do, fa, mi, la, sol, do, mi, fa, mi, la. No. Mi, fa. Probably la, sol, mi, fa. So, la, sol, mi, fa. This way to come back to F major. Then la, sol, do, la, sol, do, mi, re, mi, fa, sol, fa, da, sol, la, sol, in order to finish with a changing comma. Here, B flat A, la, sol, do, la, sol. It could be mi, fa, fa, sol. La, sol with parallel thirds. This could be fa, mi, fa, do, la, sol, la, pa. So why not mi, fa, re, fa, mi, fa, do with natural, this way. So, la, sol, do, fa, mi, fa, no, di, fa, da, la, sol, do, la, fa, la, sol, do, re. Then, repetition varied by pitch alteration. At the end, there's even here a 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then 1, 2, 3, 4. Then another 1, 2, 3, 4 with another changing comma of the same type. La, sol, fa. The repetition of these. La, sol, do, re, mi, fa, sol, fa, la, sol. Good. Then forte. Tam, tam, pam, pam, pa, pam. Now something different, because we have an expanded monte, which is very, 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 very long. Pa, 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 re, mi, re, fa, mi, fa, sol, fa, la, mi, fa, to C major. The following one in D minor, with some variations at the end, because these two notes are weird, and even those. So instead of re, do, mi, fa, mi, sol, fa, sol, it's re, do, mi, fa, mi, sol, fa, sol, la, sol, fa, do, re. Good. Then la, su, pam, su, mi, la, su, fa, mi, re, comma at the fifth, because it's sol, fa, mi, fa, mi, re, where we have G in the bass. For example, mi, fa, do, fa, mi, fa, do, natural. Do, sol, fa, mi, fa, do, G in the bass. That's why comma of the fifth, because we are in F major, the fifth is C major, and the fifth of the fifth is G. Then fa mi, ta da fa mi, fa da re, ta da fa mi, ta da ta re, to. This kind of melody repetition clause makes me to think about a bass moving like a do re mi re do re mi re do re mi re, something like this. Do re mi re do re mi, or maybe the opposite. Let's see. Mi re do re. Yes, the opposite, because it's where we avoid the parallel octaves. Mi re, because we have a 7/6, then do re mi re do re mi, and all of these with parallel thirds. So sol fa mi fa sol fa mi fa sol. So the orchestra can move with this syncopation thing is something we'll find even later, 1, 2, 3, 4, with B flat in the soprano. Let me see, here it is, where we have the major, the F minor section. Okay. Then repetition of the opening click. Wait. We arrived. No, we arrived here. Mi fa sol fa la do fa la pa. I'm not so convinced by this section, by these notes, actually, because what the fuck is this C sharp here? Sol fa la tom fa la da C natural. Re do mi re fa mi sol fa la sol fa la sol fa mi re do, and here we have a cadence at the fifth, because this could be the end of the first section at the end. Okay, then cadence in the fifth, and now the second section starts again. Why? Because we have the repetition of the main theme, do mi sol do pam, in C major, pam pam para pam re mi fa mi sol fa la sol do de la fa mi fa, with the repetition in triplets, re mi fa mi fa mi do de la fa mi fa. Then to ta tan tum, like before but transposed. Mi pam pa fa piano, pa pam 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 pa pam 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 pa pam 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 pam, comma in the fifth, of course, in the fifth of C major, so the fifth of the fifth. Then do re mi da ro to ti ro to mi fa pa 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 pi di ro to fa mi la sol mi la so fa tom pam pa. Let's see what's happening in this point, because up to here is something we have already heard at the beginning. But then, after this section, we had a fonte. The fonte now is not anymore present, and I think we pass directly to this. Sol, mi, fa. Then it continues in another way. So now we don't have the fonte anymore, but pam 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 do pam pam pa 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 tiro tom tiro to tom pam pam, and it finished that way. But now it's repeated. So 1 and 2, then 1 and 2 is repeated. 3 is repeated because tom pam pam. You see, this should be the 4, okay? Pam pam pam. Tarata-tarata-tam, tarata-tarata-tam, tan ta tan tan tan. We should expect this. but this arrives here. Taran. And these are the repetitions, and then repetition of the same thing in many different ways by pitch alteration, and finally number 4 of the foursome unit. So sol fa mi do 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 tom pam pa 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 sol mi ta la do ta da ta ta la sol mi fa la so fa mi re fa mi fa. Finally, now insertion of a monte. He says la sol do fa fa pam 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 pam. Yes, a monte, even if to be a real monte at all, let's say a chromatic monte, we need an F sharp, because la sol do fa fa mi sol la re do do. But because it wants to come back to B flat major harmony, la sol do re mi fa sol. That's why it doesn't use the F sharp, probably, because this makes sense. La sol do re mi fa sol do fa la la sol. So there's the foursome. Then repetition, and then insertion of a monte, and it says expanded. Let's see why. Let's see why it says expanded and where is the expansion. So the monte, C major. 4/6. Then he says repetition close in alla breve style. I don't know, one thing at a time. First of all, here the monte could be C if we want to write a bass to understand the harmony. Do, fa, re, sol. Okay, this is a monte. I totally agree. Then he says repetition close alla breve style. I don't see this alla breve style because the harmony do, re, mi, di, tam is changing that way. So D, E, G sharp, A. We can even write it here. Then the octave is not important for us at the moment. G sharp, A. Then repetition close, okay. I don't get the alla breve style. Re, mi, sol. Then another repetition close in alla breve. This could make sense in alla breve because actually here the bass is very long, but and it's moving, let's say, alpha bar and alpha bar, so with minima level, so the alla breve unit, but it doesn't seem to me so convincing to say alla breve here. Then mi fa re mi fa do re mi fa do re. Now there is this section with many cadences to D, the 6th degree, but is there a stronger cadence to the minor mode? I don't see it yet. By the way, mi fa sol. when we have do, re, mi, fa, this reminds to me a kind of Fenaroli. Do, re, mi, fa, do, re, mi, fa, do, re, do. So, re, fa, do, mi, with syncopations, fa, do, re, mi, fa. I can even write it an octave higher. Mi, fa, do, re. Longer. Re, mi, fa, do. Then do, re, mi, fa, do, re, mi, fa. This is the bass. Do, re, mi, fa, do, re, mi, fa, do, re. Do, la, sol, fa, re, fa, la, sol, fa, mi, do, mi, fa, sol, which is the font that we heard before, but it doesn't stop here. It continues the time. It's sol, fa, ti, even if, notice how here we have a 3-5 harmony. It's different because here we have a passage to C, so D minor, so C sharp D with a 3-5. Now passage to C major again, but now there's a 3-6 harmony here. So that we are in A minor now. So it's a fonte, okay, expanded because we have the section, the movement to A minor. And to identify the bass, we have to think about what we did before. So we had an A minor, a D. I could expect a D here because of 4, 5, makes sense. And pam, A, pam, pam, da, mi, fa, sol. So if it's re, mi, fa, sol, la, ascending tetrachord, because of the harmony, which is not changing but only parallel thirds, because the two upper voices are remaining the same, this equals to me the pulcinella cadence. Pulcinella cadence, at the end. Yes. Yes. E, A, E with 3-5-6-4, 3-5-6-4, 7th harmony over with E in the bass. Do, re, mi, fa, dum, 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 on, and the comma in the 3rd degree. Very interesting because we have the cadence in the 3rd degree, not in the 6th degree. Like so, we are in F major. The cadence is not to D minor, but to A minor. Now the repetition clause we found before. Now it's in the A minor. So tam ta do sol la, do da do fa mi fa sol la da do fa mi fa sol la mi. And here I put A, B, wait a moment. In A minor, this is degree 1, and this is degree 3, and this is degree 5. In C major, let's see when we found the same clausula. This is degree 1. So we said 1, 3, 5. Yes, degree 1 and 3, it didn't reach degree 5, so it's different. It's not exactly the same thing. So we could have do, re, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. Do, la, pom, do, la, pom, do, la, pom. Fa, fa, good. The composer is Graun. Graun is Johann Gottlieb Graun. This one, this concerto. Tam tam taram. Taram. And after this, so 1, 2, 3, 4, repetition close, he says taran taran tan taran. I do not agree on this A sharp, unless the harmony is let's say a 6-4-2. In that case, porca vacca, penna. The pen. Where did it go? Let's see. Okay. De profundis. Okay. Then I was saying, if we do with tan 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 and with 4/6 5/3, this makes sense. Do, fa, mi, fa, do, da, di, re, da, fa, mi, da, da. So 1 2 1 2 again, what we had before in C major, repeated, and he's saying basically that this 1 2 1 2 should be completed by this 3 4 with the insertion of repetition clause veiled by pitch alteration. So the main four sum is saying should be this one. Tar, mi, sol, fa, mi, pa, 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 sol, fa, pi, pa, fa, mi, something like that. So 1 2 3 4 in order to be completed. Fa, na, or fa, ta, ra, tu, 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 te. Na, to, fa, mi, re, do. Bo seems a little weak. Let's play the entire phrase. Pa, pa, pam, pam, pa, pa, pi, re, mi, sol, fa, mi, pa, 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 re, po. Fa, fa, mi, la, sol, fa, mi, fa, mi, su, fa, so, fa, mi, do, mi, so, sol, fa, mi, re, do, re, ta, 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 ra, ra, ta, ra, ra. Pa, 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 pam, pa, 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 fi, re, do, di, la, so, fa, mi. This could be, but by the way, okay. Then there's the reprise in F major. Pa pa pam 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 para ton. Then pa 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 solo, so the tutti and then the solo. Okay. Repetition fa mi fa in the piano, then forte tan ton ton pa pa pam pom pom pa pa pam 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 pa pam, la sol do fa mi. The repetition we saw before, mi re, la sol fa tre mi fa sol fa mi re do. Then ta ta tan tan tin tin tir. Yes, repetition, because what we heard before, it was this one and then this. That's right, actually. Ta ta tan tum ta ta tan tum tum ta ta tum 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 ta ti tan tan tin tin tirum ta ta tan tum tum ta ta tan tum tum tin. This is what we had before, but now an insertion of another thing, of a phrase in a phrase. Tam tam to pam pa pam la sol do re mi fa sol fa la so so fa do ti tam tam tin tin ti rom. Now the monte we found before, but not anymore set as a monte, because it's in C major and then F major. So there is a difference. do, re, te, do, re, mi, re, fa, mi, fa, sol, fa, la, sol, la, mi, fa. Before we had re, do, mi, re, but now fa, mi, sol, fa, sol, la, do, mi, re, fa, sol, fa, la, sol, la, mi, fa. So we come back to C major. Then, how can we define this section which follows? The editor didn't write anything, actually. This is the last page, yes. So we are about the end. So it's true that here we have a long F in the harmony, with which can be understood as a ponte. 6/4. But then it changes because is it correct? Are these notes correct? Because they imply unless F with the repetition, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4 with the repetition, but F remains here with the 7th, here with the 7th again, here with the 6/4, 3/5, then 7th again, but this time instead of staying on F, down to B flat, so 3/5, very fast passing tone to D, and then the same thing in D major, in G minor, because this F is of course the first degree. But no, it's the fifth degree. It's the fifth degree of B flat major. At the end, this is the fifth degree of G minor. So down a third. And now 1, 2, 3, 4, repetition of 3, and 4 coincides with the first of the following passage, the same we found before, before the cadence 2. I continue to watch there, but the screen, actually the cam is here. Before the cadence to A minor, where we have G, but this time chromatic, because we need a C sharp moving then to D. So what can be the bass? If we have C sharp, then we have a C natural before. With a diminished 7th harmony here, then 3/5 here, and before B flat, so 6, and so G, passing on A could work, but then B flat. So pum, 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 pum. Yes, correct notes, please. Pum, with the 7th harmony. So 6, 7, diminished 7th, and 3, 5. 6, 7th, diminished 7th with 3 natural, and then 5. Tara 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 tam. Back to F major. 2, 5, and then again. Pum, but where we have F, A, F, A, directly B natural. So I remember actually that before we had B natural here, but B flat and then B natural. I don't know if it's a mistake this point or the B natural should be put here, because it sounds very weird to have pam pam pa pa pa. It could work, but we had tam tam ta ta ta. So I would preserve the original one. Then ta-ra-da-ra, exactly like before. Sol, fa, mi. 3 and 4. Alla breve style, because it means that 1 and 2 are here, but 3 and 4 they take a long. They are double, because 3 is the entire bar. So 1 and 2 are half a bar, 3 is the entire bar, and 4 is the beginning of the next bar, which coincides with bar number 1 of the following thing. Now, ta 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 ta. Good. Now. Sol, so, re, sol, fa, mi, fa. Even here. 7, 6. A flat. Porca vacca, sta penna di scivolosa. I'll destroy it. So, so a Fenaroli at the end, because E natural, F, ta, 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 A flat. Fenaroli can work here. And a very interesting Fobordon can happen here. E natural. The Fenaroli can be very good, because 7, 6, 7 6 7 6 7 6. Chromaticism. Fa mi, but instead of fa mi, with the 7th. Then 1 2 3 4. 1 2 3 4, where 4 consists to 1. Let's see what's going to happen now. Pam 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 pa fa fa su fa fa. Actually, that's a connection back to F major. Where this is repeated at the end because it's repetition, yes. Down to F. If we do A, B, C, D, E, F, pam pam do re mi fa, pa pam 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 pam, pam 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 fa I see. I introduced something similar with Monte 5/6. Then first fa fa. And the final cadence, the deceptive cadence, because and the final cadence, okay, and the piece finishes here. Then what follows? It's a repetition of what we had already heard at the beginning. Mi fa fa la fa mi fa sol fa ti re ti ti ru ti tu pa pa ra tu ta ta ra fa mi fa sol fa pa 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 pa. Beautiful. Let's see about this. Then there is another section. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bars plus 9. Let's see the very beginning, because this recalls to me this section. Then instead of this point, directly to here, or better, no, directly to the correct half beat, which is here, the repetition one. And the final cadence in that point. So we can say that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, the 9 final bars are these bars. Okay, perfect. Wow, 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 wow. And now we have concluded this analysis. Wonderful. And in the next video, this is very long, 1 hour and 20. Yeah, but you know, analysis like this deserves a lot of time. We have another piece, which is 3 pages, 4 pages. I mean, 1 page, 2 pages, 3 pages, and then no, 1, 2, 3, and just a little. So let's say that the first page is starting after a section, so it's, let's say, 3 pages at the end by Benda, and in the next video we'll analyze this concerto by Benda with the same techniques used by Riepel. See you. What if you had been born in the wrong era? Imagine being born in the 17th or 18th century Italy and setting out to become a musician. Or perhaps in the Germany of Bach or in the France of Couperin. What would you have studied? What kind of musical training would you have received? How would you have learned to compose in the style of that time? Today, wouldn't it be wonderful to follow a clear, authentic path that guides you step by step as if you had truly lived in the Baroque era? Not just to study Baroque style, but to think and write music like a true musicus of that time. In the past, I searched for such a path, but I never found it. And that's exactly why I created it. The Musicus Practicus Baroque Path is inspired by the real journey a musicus of the 17th or 18th century would have taken. A musical adventure you can now experience for yourself, learning to compose music as if you had lived in the Baroque era. Discover all the levels of the Musicus Practicus Baroque Path on the Musicus Practicus Academy and start right now with the free levels on the platform. Then choose the full path that suits you best and continue your journey into the art of Baroque music to learn music as if you had lived in the Baroque